This is a very special video because today I am going to show you my challah recipe. My son, Seth, who's 18, loves to bake and cook. He does it all the time. We live in a tiny New York City apartment and I don't like to bake and cook here, but he loves to. And he's about to leave for college next week, so he asked me to show him my challah recipe. He's made a bunch of bread products. He's made sourdough and pizza dough and croissants and who knows what, brioche, delicious stuff, but he's never made my challah recipe, and I love my challah recipe. It is so special to me that I used to give it as a gift on my walking tours to people. I'd give them a little recipe card. So I was like, all right, let me show you the recipe and all the tricks. I haven't made it in years. I buy challah, but it is muscle memory for me. So I showed him you need fresh yeast and you need to activate the yeast. I showed him how you use lukewarm water and sugar in a separate bowl that is part of the recipe to activate the yeast, and that was very successful. From the get-go, he was slightly horrified by the quantities involved in this recipe. It calls for 6 pounds flour and just a couple of eggs, I think 4 eggs, but mostly it's a lot of flour and yeast. Anyway, another thing that is a tip of mine that was very important for me to articulate is to keep the eggs separate from the salt, because the salt can kind of cook the eggs. I've had experience with that. So we made this dough with great success and I was very proud. Only as the dough was rising, as we were getting a sense of the quantities on me and on us, how enormous this recipe is, to the point that I am shocked and a little embarrassed that I ever shared this recipe, because it is really like commercial level recipe. We didn't even braid all of the dough that came out of this mixture, but it was an enormous success. It is not a hard recipe. I definitely will hope that he will make it in college and feed it to the entire campus. You can easily half it. It is a very, very delicious bread. You know, the trick is to make sure it's very crispy. Acidic challah is supposed to be crispy, so take it out of the pan, put it in the oven, make sure it has a nice crispy crust and full of lox or whatever. It's really, really good. Now, here is my challah recipe for all of you, and since my son is off to college, I will be eating vast quantities of bread to cope. We'll see how that goes. I'll report back. Have a good shabbes, everyone.